listening to the radio in England a few weeks back, Radio 4, quite highbrow. There was a discussion about political correctness. My name came up straight away, right? And there was this woman on there going, oh yeah, well it's not right. Ricky Gervais, he makes jokes about fat people. He wouldn't make jokes about people, would he? And being fat is like being... What? No, it's not. What? You can't choose your...
Ricky Gervais is just the absolute opposite of woke, as he also doesn't hold back against the jokes on immigration.
I did think of adopting for a while, a little third world child, because that would tick all three boxes, wouldn't it? You know? You think of it like, one, I wouldn't be adding to the population problem, I'd be alleviating an existing problem. A young kid born through no fault of his own into abject poverty, he would have... Without me, I can literally save his life and give him a great upbringing, right? Two, he would be grateful, wouldn't he? He'd want to pay me back, wouldn't he? Particularly if I let him know that all the other kids in the village, they weren't so lucky, they didn't make it out. I'd tell him that early on, so he really bucked his ideas up, right? I'd go, Tundi, come here. Yeah, go and pop a shirt on, you're not in Africa now, mate. That's better, yeah. Tundi, yeah, water straight out of a tap, and yes. No, it's not free, it's Hampstead. Yeah, of course it's safe. Safe, fresh drinking water. Have as much as you want. Have a bucket full. Straight out of that fresh drinking...
It seems like you're quoting a piece of dialogue, likely from a comedian or a satirical source, addressing the topic of political correctness, particularly Ricky Gervais's stance on humor. Here's a brief breakdown of the context and themes. In the segment, the speaker mentions a discussion on the radio where Ricky...
I mean, you're right. You know, it's... offences about feelings, and feelings are personal. Some people are offended by equality. So what? You know, so you can't second guess people. If you try and please everyone, you'll please no one. With comedy as well, I think you've got to deal with taboos and contentious issues, and sometimes you deal in irony, and some people don't get that. But, you know, you can't legislate against stupidity, otherwise you'll be doing nothing, you know, because I'm not doing it for the 200 egos in the room. I'm doing it for the 200 million people watching around who aren't winning awards, who aren't millionaires. And freedom of speech is so important these days. I've reached the age now where I don't care anymore. It's a sin. Not to joke about all the bad things, that's a waste. Because that's exactly what we...
came up in a debate about political correctness. It highlights how some people criticize Gervais for making jokes about sensitive topics like weight and immigration, and asserts that humor shouldn't be restricted by modern political sensitivities. The speaker touches on Gervais's willingness to make jokes about these topics without holding back, suggesting that this approach...
Patronising, and I get that as well, to what it's like to be outnumbered. In this country, we're still only 5% black, 5% Asian, 5% LGBTQ, you know, tiny numbers. Now, I'm a white, hetero, multi-millionaire, right? There's less than 1% of us. Do I whine? No. Do I don't mind. I just get on with it. Come on, Rick. Come on, Rick. Just keep... I'm like Rosa Parks. Do you know what I mean? I'm like... Except I fought for the right to never have...
Culture of trying to be politically correct in all situations. Would you like a specific rewrite or additional context related to this? This is a continuation of the quote, likely from a comedian such as Ricky Gervais, making dark humor about adoption and global poverty. The speaker seems to be joking about the idea of adopting
with other nations, to share things with other races, to assimilate. It was the opposite of racist. Now it's racist. Gwen Stefani got in trouble in her last video because she had her blonde hair in dreadlocks. People go, no, black people invented dreadlocks, you can't have them, you're white, that's racist. Jamie Oliver got in trouble when he put out authentic jerk chicken recipe. People go, no, black people invented that, you can't have it, you're white, that's racist. Now, black people, they use the N-word, don't they? We invented that.
First background as a way to solve a perceived problem in a satirical, exaggerated manner. Here, the joke is based on the absurdity of trying to justify adoption purely as a means of doing good for the child while also highlighting the contrast between life in poverty-stricken areas and more privileged settings. It's an example of dark, satirical humor meant to push boundaries and criticize the way people approach serious issues like poverty and adoption. Would you like to explore the humor style, the context of such jokes, or...
And I found out my crime was that I named her. Now, I'd never heard that term, before a day after the Golden Globes, and that was saying her old name, and even acknowledging that she used to be a man. But she did. I saw him on the Olympic Games. It was the Catholic. He was in everything. He was all over the place. Shot put and pole vault. He won a medal. He was famous. He was on telly all the time. But a big, famous man with a huge. I don't know, but I mean.
This excerpt reflects Ricky Gervais' approach to comedy and his commentary on the nature of offense. He touches on the subject of political correctness and how feelings of offense are subjective. He implies that just because someone is offended, it doesn't necessarily mean they are right, challenging the idea that comedy should be restricted by concerns of offending others. Gervais emphasizes that comedy...
NBC clearly don't care either. 5th time. So, I mean, Kevin Hart was fired from the Oscars because of some offensive tweets. Hello? Lucky for me, the Hollywood foreign press can barely speak English, and they've no idea what Twitter is, so I got offered this gig by fax. So let's go out with the wants to kill himself because his wife has cancer, and it's still more fun than this, okay? Spoiler alert, season 2 is on the way, so in the end, he obviously didn't kill himself, just like Gervais. Shut up. I know he's your friend, but I don't care. You had to make your own way here in your own plane, didn't you? Right, but seriously, most films are awful, lazy, remakes, sequels. I've heard a rumour that there might be a sequel to Sophie's Choice. I mean, that'd just be Meryl Streep going, well, it's got to be this one then. All the best actors have jumped to Netflix and HBO, and the actors who just do Hollywood movies now do fantasy adventure nonsense. They wear masks and capes and really tight costumes. Their job isn't acting anymore, it's going to the gym twice a day and taking steroids, really. Have we got an award for most ripped junkie? No point, we know he'd win that. Martin Scorsese, the greatest living director, made the news for his controversial comments about the Marvel franchise. He said they're not real cinema and they remind him of theme parks. I agree. Although I don't know what he's doing hanging around theme parks. He's not big enough to go on the rides, is he? It's tiny. Right. The Irishman was amazing. It was amazing. It was. It was great. Long, but amazing. It wasn't the only epic movie. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, nearly 3 hours long. Leonardo DiCaprio, a bang. Let's have a laugh at your expense, shall we? Remember, they're just jokes. We're all going to soon, and there's no sequel. So, yeah, remember that. But you all look lovely, all dolled up. You came here in your limos. I came here in a limo tonight, and the license plate was made by Felicity Huffman. So, no, shush. It's her daughter I feel sorry for, okay? That must be the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to her. And her dad was in Wild Hogs. So, lots of big celebrities here tonight. I mean, legends, icons, yeah? Look, at this table alone, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro, but... Baby Yoda. Oh, that's Joe Pesci, sorry. I love you, man, don't have me whacked. But tonight isn't just about the people in front of the camera. In this room are some of the most important TV and film executives in the world. People from every background, but they all have one thing in common. They're all terrified of Ronan Farrow. He's coming for you. He's coming for you. Look, talking of all you... It was a big year... It was a big year for movies. Surviving R. Kelly, Leaving Neverland, Two Popes. I don't care. I don't care. Many talented people of colour were snubbed in major categories. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do about that. The Hollywood foreign press are all very, very racist. So, fifth time. So, we were going to do an in memoriam this year, but when I saw the list of people that had, it wasn't diverse enough. It just, no. It was mostly white people. And I thought, nah, not on my watch. So, maybe next year. Let's see what happens. No one cares about movies anymore. No one goes to the cinema. No one really watches network TV. Everyone's watching Netflix. This show should just be me coming out going, well done Netflix, you win everything. Good night. But no, we got to drag it out for 3 hours. You could binge watch the entire first season of Afterlife instead of watching this show. That's a show about a man who...
I can... You know, I see all these people saying all the parties they were having and what all the stuff they were doing. And people saying, you know, that was the day I couldn't see my mum in hospital, or I couldn't go to my dad's funeral. And because the people in charge, the posh, privileged people in charge, were acting like Charlie Sheen. I mean, really rubbing salt in the wound. And I say, I don't get political, but they're all shit. When are we going to stop taking went to Eton as a qualification to run the country? I mean, now. So that's why I'm doing this as well, because I've noticed all around, you know, there's a lot of annoyance and frustration, totally justified as well, misinformation, anger. But I think the next pandemic is going to be like anxiety and, you know, God knows how it affects like teenagers who have had their, you know, some of the best years of their life sort of taken away. And college, I didn't go to college to study. You know what I mean? 3 years living at home, doing things on Zoom. That's not my idea.
Protecting minorities, but it comes to taboo subjects, which is part of its power and purpose. He argues that trying to please everyone with comedy is futile because it would water down the humor and make it ineffective. His perspective invites people to consider that offense is tied to personal emotions